So welcome back to my Road to Marvel's Black Widow series. This week we are on week 11, which means we're talking about Avengers Age of Ultron. Got my little Age of Ultron collage right here. Now I remember the hype for when Age of Ultron was coming out. I remember when the first trailer dropped and I was beyond excited. Ultron looked like such a menacing villain, such a creepy villain. Just the way he spoke in certain scenes just made him look to be such a terrifying villain that I was so excited to actually be able to see in this movie.
There's only one path to peace. Their extinction.
The trailers, they had such a dark tone, which the movie doesn't really have. The trailer though, honestly, the hype was so real for this movie. You get even the character posters, getting to see what is going to happen with the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver character, because the year prior we had X-Men Days of Future Past, and I was wondering, are they going to be similar? I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was beyond excited. I keep saying I was excited, but honestly, I was so hyped to see what Age of Ultron was actually going to be like. Now, in terms of cast, I only thought we only had 4 new additions that were actually worth talking about. Of course, we do have Andy Serkis, who I'm not actually going to talk about, but I just kind of wanted to give him a little bit of a nod. But of course, James Spader, who plays Ultron. Now, I'm most familiar with James Spader from Season 8 of The Office, so when he got announced as Ultron, I was like, oh, you mean the guy from The Office? And that's immediately where I was thinking, will he be a good Marvel villain? But honestly, his voice works so well for Ultron. It's so menacing, it's so creepy. All of it works extremely well for his voice works for Ultron so well. And I do hope he does come back at some stage to play Ultron again, because I believe Ultron is not gone. I think Ultron will be back at one stage, and I do hope they bring him back to voice Ultron again, because I just think his voice is it works so well. Also, you do have Elizabeth Olsen playing Scarlet Witch. This first movie, when she has the accent, it's really weird. Then you see in Civil War, she slowly get rid of it, and then in Infinity War, the accent's completely gone, and I think it works without the accent, because I found the accent to actually be really distracting in this movie. It could be the fact that in the later movies she doesn't have it, but in this movie I just found it to be really distracting how thick the accent was. But Scarlet Witch in this movie, yeah, she's enjoyable. She's not a standout in this movie. She's down the bottom of actually characters who really stand out, but she is enjoyable for it as she is. Also, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who of course plays Quicksilver, her brother, which I always thought it was weird that he plays her brother in this movie, because the year prior they were playing husband and wife in Godzilla, and I just thought that was such a weird thing when they were announced as brother and sister. But as Quicksilver, he's okay. The guy in X-Men, especially Days of Future Past, he's a lot better in that movie. In the other two X-Men movies, he's not the best, but I think the best Quicksilver we've ever gotten has been Days of Future Past. This version of him, he is okay. He's not great. He's got a little bit of back and forth with Hawkeye, but other than that, he is extremely forgettable. You can tell that Marvel didn't really want to have him there, but they said, okay, we can't bring Wanda in without bringing Quicksilver in, so they had to bring him in too. But you could tell they didn't really want to deal with him, especially, I'd say, because of X-Men doing it. They didn't want to have 2 versions of him out there, so they immediately decided to kill him off, which the death in itself, it's good to see. I was really shocked in cinema, as most people probably were, that he died rather than Hawkeye. But for the death as it is, I think it's fine. It's just extremely forgettable. And then the last one we actually do have is Paul Bentley. Now, of course, Paul Bentley did play Jarvis in the 3 Iron Man movies, as well as this movie and the first Avengers. But this movie, he actually becomes a Vision, and as him as a Vision, I think he works really well. He's got a real calming voice, real calming presence, so he's able to play the Vision really well in this movie in particular. And this movie kicks off with an action scene, which is one of many action scenes this movie actually has. Of course, you have the very first one in the snow, which is, it's okay, it's not great, it's not like a very memorable one. But then you have the one inside of Avengers Tower with all the little Ultrons. That's a decent enough one. And then you jump over, and then you have the Hulk versus Iron Man, which is just so iconic. I remember when before the movie came out, they released concept art for it, and I was like losing my shit. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe we're gonna actually get to see this. Then also you kind of have the final one, which they're good action scenes. You do have other ones in between. Like you got the one on the truck where Captain America tries to choke out a robot for some reason. But there is many action scenes in this movie. You're not dry for action. So much action. So if you're a fan of action movies, you will be enjoying yourself during this movie, because there is just so much here to enjoy. But the main problem with this movie that a lot of people would have is the story. Now, the story itself is a decent enough story. It's not a great sequel to the event. Like the first Avengers is good. The first Avengers is great. This is a good sequel, not a great sequel like you do have with Infinity War or Endgame, which are great sequels to the Avengers. This one, I just think it's good. I think it's a very forgettable movie, and as I said, I think that is because of the story and because of the plot. It's just a generic kind of story where Ultron's created. He's gonna try to destroy the world, which isn't really anything new. It doesn't tie into the Infinity Saga at all. The Avengers movies were kind of starting to look like they were going to be building up to Thanos, but this one in the middle, I thought maybe something in Endgame would tie it all together with Ultron, but besides the line of Tony Stark saying, "This is the Endgame."
We're the Avengers. We can bust arms dealers all the live long day, but that up there, that's the Endgame.
Yeah, besides that line, what else does this movie tie in to the final installment in the Avengers franchise? Like, there is so many, and I mean so many kind of storylines happening throughout this movie. Not only do you have Hawkeye and his family, you've got Thor going off randomly throughout this movie to try to find out stuff about Ragnarok. I think actually if he never returned for the final battle, it would have been a bit more interesting because they're missing Thor during the final battle. So I thought maybe if he stayed away and never come back, the movie would have been slightly better, just because it would have had a bit more edge, the fact that Thor isn't actually there. Also, you do have Natasha being kidnapped. You have Ultron's whole story. You have the twins' story. There's just so many stories being told in this movie that it really bogs it down a bit. And there's just so much you actually have to pay attention to. And there's so much that the storytellers are trying to tell that they don't really give justice to any one story. Now, my favourite thing about this movie isn't the battles, isn't the villain. My favorite thing is the character relationships. They just feel like so much friends. In the first movie, they were all just coming together. They didn't actually really know each other, but this movie, they've known each other for years, and they're all really good friends, and they're quipping, they're having fun. Like in the first battle, when Captain America says language, and then they just make fun of him throughout the entire movie, just on that one line, and that line became instantly iconic as well. You do have the scene which everyone talks about, which I absolutely adore, in Avengers Tower, when they're all just sitting around and they're pulling up Thor's hammer, and it's just great. Everyone can't do it. You see Iron Man and War Machine doing it together. You see Captain America do it. He slightly moves it, and you see Thor's face literally drop. All that is just great character development, character relationships, all that. I just think it's really good to see our Avengers actually having fun together, being friends. Just works really well, really well for me. I've never really been a fan of Ultron's final design. I think he's okay, but he just doesn't look menacing. He doesn't look as creepy as I would like him to look, especially in the comics. His grin is just so creepy looking, but in this movie, he's got teeth. I'm pretty sure he's got a tongue, and it just looks really weird, and I think I would have preferred a more grittier, dirtier looking Ultron, even though he's a brand new robot. I just would have liked something a little bit more dirtier than the actual look we got, because I just don't think he's that menacing looking. But some great stuff we got is the introduction of Vision, and the whole scene works really well. Everyone's fighting about it. You see Captain America coming in, he tells him to stop. Scarlet Witch comes in, and then you get Quicksilver running in, stopping everything. Thor bursts in, lightnings the whole thing up. Vision comes alive. Just a great scene. Getting the introduction of Vision. He goes flying out with glass. He stops. He sees Thor's cape. He goes, "Yep, I want to get me one of those." Puts a cape on himself, picks up Thor's hammer to show everyone that they can trust him. Just great introduction to the character of Vision, and this is probably the best Vision has ever been, until hopefully WandaVision, where he is better, because I would love to see something better than Age of Ultron, because his best isn't really the best. So as well, the final battle, or the Battle of Sokovia, is okay. It's not really great. The best thing about it, as I said earlier, is the quips. It's just the characters. Their quips are great. You can see that they've been fighting together for a while now, so they know little tricks they can do together, especially Thor and Captain America, where they smash the hammer against the shield, knocks everyone away. Just besides that, the action scenes aren't that memorable. They're not really that good, because we're just fighting another faceless army with all the faceless robots. Ultron's just being ripped apart, and they kind of just go through them like tissue paper. Literally, I seen Hawkeye punch right through his ribcage and go up and out on a robot, so they're not really that destructible if a random man can punch through it. So they're kind of just like tissue paper being ripped apart, and the action, as I said, not really the best. There's some great moments, though not really an awful amount. Maybe the great moment would be when Iron Man, Vision, Thor all shooting at Ultron, and once the Hulk comes in and now punches him. But besides that, I actually can't think of any memorable action scenes from this final battle. Nothing really stands out to me at all, except the slow motion one when they're in the middle, everyone's zooming around, showing everyone Captain America just as a spin for some reason. But honestly, besides that, no action scene is actually really standing out to me right now. And then by the end of the movie, where Hulk is gone off into space, we got Tony and Hawkeye going back to their homes to be away from the Avengers, and we get to see our new Avengers lineup: Captain America, Vision, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, War Machine and Falcon. And originally they were going to put Captain Marvel in there, which I think if that's all we got Captain Marvel was she just showed up, it would have been really weird. But again, I remember at the time they were planning on putting her in. I don't know how they would have put her in, but I'm kind of glad they didn't. But the final kind of scene where they're showing our new Avengers team and Captain America shouts Avengers, I remember how much let down I was to the fact that he did not say assemble. I even loved his lead scene when Chris Evans says Avengers and he laughs at the screen.
Avengers!
Assemble!
So Avengers Age of Ultron, yes, it's got way too many subplots. Yes, it does have not really anything really memorable in the action. And yes, of course, my favourite part and the only really redeeming part for me personally with this movie is the characters, and that is why it is down the bottom towards my ranking so far of the MCU movies. Currently, out of the 11 ones I've rewatched, it's coming in number 8, which for the Avengers sequel, you really shouldn't be that low. It should be a lot better. But honestly, besides the characters, I don't really enjoy this movie. I enjoy some scenes of it, which is just honestly the only thing I like about this movie is the characters. The only reason I would watch this movie is just to see more of these characters, because you get to see more of them together just hanging out, where in the other movies, especially Infinity War and Endgame, there's so much happening so quickly that they don't really get time to hang out. But in this movie, they do get a few scenes here and there to actually hang out. So besides that, this movie doesn't really give me anything to actually really want to watch it, where I could just go on YouTube and watch these scenes, because this movie is not the best. It's got just too much happening, and I'm just not really interested in this story. But let me know your thoughts on Avengers Age of Ultron in the comment section down below. Let me know if you actually think it's the best Avengers movie. I can't see that happening, but maybe for you this could be the best Avengers movie. Also, if you want to see my review of Ant-Man next week, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can come back next week and see my review of Ant-Man. I haven't seen that one in a few years, so I actually am also looking forward to rewatching that, as I do every single week. Look forward to rewatching the MCU movies. But as always, thanks for watching.